Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Outside Insider. 2 days is all we have got left until Eagles football. It is so close, yet so far. It's like Christmas. Like every day is dragging that build up. You know you're going to get your presents. You just don't know what they're going to be. I can't wait. It's like the best time of year. Football season itself is exciting, but the build that week before, that grueling week between preseason and regular season just goes on and on and on. And for Eagles fans, we get it a bit lucky this year. They're playing on Friday. We have to wait till Sunday. We do have our taste. It is a neutral site game in Brazil. My internet is kicking off already, so apologies for that. But if you are in the house, say hello. Welcome to the chat, everyone, to Mark, E-Money, Win, Daniel Berry Sports, and a quick shout. Jordan Purchell. All right, now listen. Look, I'm not going to start on a mean foot. Jordan was in Monday stream. All right. He subscribed. He liked. He joined the Discord. He came back for show 2. I respect the hustle. But he's done it with a Cowboys logo. And I don't know if he's trying to rile me up on a Rogue Wednesday evening. I don't know if he's trying to get my juices flowing. If he wants a bit of passion from the young man. But he's going the right way about it. So, Jordan, I appreciate the shithousery if that's the case. But we're back. Eagles football is upon us. It's going to be a fun year. I sound a bit sick. I don't think so. It could just be too many vapes. That's been a terrible off-season transition for me. I need to stop that. The blue Raz Ice is not doing me any favors, gents, is all I'm saying. But it does taste of blue Raz Ice. Darius, nice to see you, my friend. I hope all is doing well. Yeah, all good on this end. I hope you're doing well too. British Bird says, Jack, we're ready to dive into this matchup. Eagles versus Packers. They're favored by 2.5 points for those betting fiends among you. And we got a bit of worrying news this morning that broke out of Philadelphia as they took on their flight to head to Sao Paulo to take on the Packers. The injury report was released and Devin White was on it. So much so that he's not traveling with the team, which is, it's a quibble. All right, it's a little quibble because he's your starting linebacker. He's the only one over age 18 in the group, it feels like at this point. He's 26 years old. He's the veteran of the group. But at the same time, you do have an interesting dynamic at linebacker, so we're going to touch on that. But of all the games to miss your starting linebacker for, this probably isn't the one. Now, there was some random noise that came out today as well, and if I'm honest, this isn't anything I've heard prior to today. So whether it's just been put out there to, ease the concerns, I don't know. But there were rumors that there was a trade, like whisper going around regarding Devin White. There was another one that Nakobe Dean was to clear starting linebacker from that battle. So I don't know how much weight is in that. From what I presumed, it was Devin White and Zach Bourne. They would be the two starting linebackers in this system. But there's only one way to find out. I do find it puzzling, though, that Devin White has come into this year fully healthy, not had a scratch through training camp, not a scratch through, I know he didn't really play preseason, but he was fine all summer, like 4 weeks of camp, not a mark on him. First injury report was fine. Like the Tuesday one was absolutely golden. I think he was listed on there as limited. And then the next one, ankle out. Did he fall down the stairs? Did he walk into a dumbbell? Like what happened, Devin? What happened? Because you were fine on Tuesday and now you've got an ankle injury. I don't know what they've done there. But in terms of who's going to replace him, you're looking at Nakobe Dean. Jeremiah Trotter might get some looks, obviously. Before the injury, Nakobe would have been rotating in, maybe like the third or fourth player of the drive, like just come in, bit of change of pace, give him a breather. I don't know if that is going to give Trot some opportunities, if now Nakobe's going to start. It's a big spot for Nakobe Dean. Make no mistake about it. The guy's coming off of 2 years where the first one was largely mired by injury. The second one, as we said earlier in the year, looked brilliant in week 1. I thought that week 1 game, I believe it was New England, looked absolutely fantastic. Got injured. Came back. Couldn't do anything against Zach Cunningham. Couldn't win a role. Couldn't prove he deserved to be on the field over a guy that is no longer on the team because he was poor. This is a big year for Nakobe Dean now. Like the Eagles picked him and there was a lot of hype because it was, he shouldn't have fell that far. The injury, sure, but this is a stud player. And now we're at a point where it's year 3. He does have a window into a starting opportunity. Now he can't say for certainty that he can snatch this from Devin White in week 1, but he can certainly throw the cat among the pigeons with a big game. And they don't come much bigger than week 1 neutral site, new defense, new expectations against a Green Bay offense that moved the ball very well in those last few weeks of last season. For those that, might have forgotten, Green Bay did go on a bit of a random surge. It felt incredibly misplaced, but they started heating up, turning heads. Jordan Love started getting his flowers. And then they went out. They acquired themselves a stout running back in Josh Jacobs, who I think by his own admission had a slower 2023 campaign than the one where he had 1,400 yards or so in the year before it. But he's still a solid rusher. He's no longer going to be plagued by whatever incompetencies, were lingering over him in that Oakland or Las Vegas, front office. He's in a new system. He's going to give Jordan Love some optionality out of the backfield that he maybe didn't have before. We'll see. But it's a big task for Nakobe Dean in a 3-4 to go into that as potentially a pinch starter and make an impact. So that will be something to watch come Friday night, is how does Nakobe Dean handle that starting role? It's a tough matchup. Make no mistake. In terms of the game itself, I think this is an Eagles win. I mean, this is all bias aside, that they've got the better roster, top to bottom. To me, the Packers feel like where the Eagles were 2 years ago. Or maybe even 3 years. I guess time flies, right? But like 3 years ago, like before that Super Bowl run, the year before that, where the pieces were just coming in. Smitty had just broken out. Hurts was beginning to show promise. And the roster was like a step or two away from being a competitor. Green Bay feels like it's in that spot now. That they've got a great defense, a brilliant defense. You got Key Walker at linebacker. You got Rashawn Gary on that defensive front, who had like 9 sacks last year. You've got an offense that's stacked with, I would say, underrated receivers. Someone like Christian Watson hasn't had his moment in the sun just yet, but he's had a few flashes. You've got Josh Jacobs. You've got a potentially franchise quarterback in Jordan Love. They're not going to be a walkover, but this roster is still a step behind championship level. It's in that growth stage. You're talking like 8 to 10 to 12 wins. 12 wins would be a miracle. 10 wins would be great. 8 wins and a sneak into the playoffs, I think, is kind of where their targets are realistically going to be. It's a solid team, but it's not at a point where you look at the roster like you can with the Eagles and say, well, they've got a top 10 quarterback. They've got 2 top 10 receivers, a top 10 offensive line, a top 10 running back. It should be a top 10 tight end if he can stay healthy. Defensively, it's a new system, but look, I'm not a critic of Darius Slay on the field. We can all agree he's not the premium corner he was, but he's still a top-notch corner. Can hang with the best of them. You have Quinion Mitchell back there now in the slot. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson returns at safety. The linebacker position has been reinvigorated. It's a different team. There are levels to that, and the Eagles are a level ahead. And I think that I wrote in a betting preview earlier today for PhillySportsNetwork.com, if the Packers win this game, I don't think it's going to be through like an out-and-out win. It's not going to be the Packers were the better team. It's going to be the Eagles have tripped and stumbled. They've made some errors, and the Packers have capitalized. I can't really see a way where the Packers come out of that game with a win and look like the better, team on the field. It could happen. It's the NFL. It happens all the time. But the Eagles are the better team on paper by a mile. My worry is in week 1, it should be with any team. It's not Eagles specific, but you've got a new coordinator on both sides of the ball. There's bound to be the occasional teething problem. There's bound to be an offside. There's bound to be a flagrant flag. There's going to be, whatever, flags being thrown, players missteps, mixed up coverages, missed assignments. Players maybe getting confused in pass protection, especially if Jalen Hurts is calling the shots. That's not a knock on him. It's just a big transition from when Kelsey was doing it. And now your center isn't. Like all the Eagles have known for a decade is their center calling out these pass protections. If it is now Hurts doing it, that's going to be something to be aware of. But because of that, again, like that's where the Packers would need to capitalize. And if they can, they'll have a shot. Realistically, I don't think they do. Again, this is an up-and-coming team. They've got a great roster, and they'll be fun to watch for the next 5 years. They're where the Eagles were 2 to 3 years ago. In general, the Eagles have the better roster. They've got themselves a ton of talent. There are no excuses. The worry for week 1, maybe weeks 1 to 4, are just going to be teething problems, ironing out all of those miscues and misfires and stumbles and coughs and chokes. Like, get them out of the way. It's a neutral site. is one where the players wrongfully don't really fancy playing. They're not exactly up for it and going in there all bells, ringing and all smiles and gleaming. It's very much well, we've got to go Brazil. I don't want to go there, which it sucks. And I've said this on the stream. I've made, I clipped it into a Twitter clip. I've made an article about it. I think my views on that are very clear at this point. But there is an opportunity then, is again for Green Bay to maybe capitalize on that complacency if it's not reflected in their camp. If they're a bit more up for it, if they're a bit more willing to go on the trip and not see it as a chore, which I think is what it's being portrayed as in Philadelphia, then there's a chance. But outright, the Eagles are the better team. I think the biggest thing is to focus on, as Jack says there, to focus on the task at hand, to not get lost in the noise, to not worry about the overhanging concerns, the wrongfully placed concerns about safety and all the rest of it. Just go to Brazil. Well, I don't really get. Look, I understand because the Phillies came to London. I was there, obviously. The players were there for 3 days. They got to go out, see some of the city. Some of them went to, local bars, like the Philadelphia themed bars. Others went sightseeing. Some went to fan fairs. There was a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess atmosphere, a bit more of a warm welcome. And that's not to say it's not in Brazil, but it's being portrayed as not that. And I think because of that, there's just this weird negative vibe from players going, and it sucks, and it shouldn't be that way. But if that is the case, forget it. Like, you're there for one game. It's not like you're a baseball team like the Phillies were, and you're there for 3 and you have that time to go and explore. I'm not being funny. I used to do motorsport commentary, okay? I never went around the world, but I went to various circuits in England, so places like Silverstone for the Formula One fans among you, Brands Hatch, other like UK circuits, and I would do commentary over the audio systems. And I couldn't drive, so I'd get a train up, I'd get there maybe Friday afternoon, stay in the hotel, and then I'd go to the track on Saturday, I'd go back to my hotel and I'd go home. I don't see why there needs to be a conceited effort to go out and party in Brazil. What are they expecting? Do they want an open top bus tour of Sao Paulo? Like, why does it have to be bigger than it is? You're there for a game. You're there for a job. You go, you do the job. You go back to your hotel. I don't know why that is some, horrible chore now, but it is. And I think Daniel Winter's comment is what matters here. This is what it's about. I'm going to fucking see the Eagles for the first time in my life in 2 days. And I hope you have the best time possible. I hope the Brazilian fans welcome everyone, as we know they will, as they have with other global events in the past, with the warmest of arms, and show people just how special that culture and that country is. Go and enjoy it. It's a rare experience to go see your favorite team play in your home country if you're not from it. And I hope it's everything you dreamed of. I really, really do. And someone DM'd me on Instagram. Like, I don't know how he got my Instagram, but they got it the other day. Earlier today, basically referencing the article and saying he's going to see the Eagles, and it sucked because he's been excited for a month, and then the last couple of weeks, he almost feels like wrong because everyone all of a sudden is shitting on his country, and it doesn't feel right, and he just wants to see his team play. And Daniel's comment and stuff like that message matter because it's the fans that are important here. No offense to the players. They're there to do a job and to show the country what the NFL product can do. But they're not there to go and do whatever they think they're going to do in Brazil, So I really hope that it goes well, and they just have to focus on the job at hand and not get lost in this bizarre mental state of, well, I don't want to go. Like, just go. You get to see a new part of the world. You get to go to South America. Lovely, hot Brazil. Play in the new stadium in front of passionate fans. I don't know what more you could want. You get paid millions of dollars to do it, all right? It's not the end of the world. You're not being sent to, Iran. You're going to Israel, you're going to Brazil to play a football game. You'll be fine. Do you know what I mean? Quick shout as well to So Turtles, who is a Packers fan. I love the respect. May the best team win. I agree. May the best team win, sir. I hope you enjoy the game and have a joyous NFL season. Hopefully watching Jordan Love take some steps forward in his development. That's what we like to see. I have no problem with Packers fans. If I was to rank NFL fan bases, I would put them, I don't know, like top 10, top 15. They're passionate. I don't get the whole cheese thing, but I do like cheese, so I'll let it slide, I'd go to a game with cheese on my head, but I do like cheese, so I'll let them off. I don't think you'll know how big of a fan base we have here. We're going to show you. I hope so, man. I really, really hope so. Really hope so. You go enjoy it. Go have a hell of a day. And shout out to the Brazilian fans as well, because you've all been incredibly kind to me. I'm not even going to the game, and you've taken time out to be kind to me. So respect from a horrible English fan when it comes to the World Cup when you beat us and break our hearts in about 4 years' time. Stole a conference game, home game from us. Not happy with Brazil, but we've got to go get a dub. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only other caveat here. But at the end of the day, the Eagles do get a longer bye. And I think that is going to be huge when looking at the rest of the schedule. And also the fact that the bye week in this year isn't particularly favourable. But if you could pick an extended bye, you know, the Thursday to Monday grind that you typically get, where it's a bit of a longer layoff, this kind of would be it for a team with 2 new coordinators. Like, you want as much time as possible to iron out these deficiencies, iron out these teething problems, get yourself set for the road ahead. The starters haven't played all preseason. That's another thing. Like, the starters have not touched the ball. Jalen Hurts hasn't taken a preseason snap. It might take him a few series to warm up. It might take the team overall a few series to warm up. Let it happen. All right? This is a favorable matchup. It's one they can very easily win. Just get it done. All right? And if it's not done, you've got an extended layoff to work on why it didn't happen and fix it for week 2, which I believe is Monday night against the Falcons. So it's all systems go, but they've got to start hot. I think that's the big thing. I corrected a co-worker who asked me about it today and mentioned some of your article. Look at that. Justice for Brazilians, I say. They deserve it. And I think a lot of it for me comes from a place of relatability, because I'm an English fan. And when the Eagles came to London, it was a huge deal for me. Like, it was huge. So I'd followed that team for years. My business was built on that team. Getting to see them in my home country was an incredible moment. You know, it's something you never even dream of thinking. You always have to dream of going to America to go to the Link or something. Same with the Phillies when they came here, the Sixers that have come here. So I understand completely. And Brazil don't get that chance much more often at all, because they don't have the international game. It's the first one. So a lot of me sees the negativity around that game and just empathizes so much, because I couldn't imagine, you know, look, I'm an AEW fan as well. I'm a big wrestling guy. So I went to All In London. That was at Wembley. And I couldn't imagine the wrestlers that I follow and the people that I look up to slagging off the place I live, saying they don't want to be here. And it just takes away from it. It completely takes away from it. So it sucks. It shouldn't happen. They're there to champion the league and they're not doing it. So I just hope the game's amazing. I hope you enjoy the game. And it's everything that you dream of. I really, really do. Hello from Germany to Drew Johnson. Guten Tag. Wie geht's? See, I can speak German. All right. It's my second, I say my second language. I studied it in school and I found it a lot easier than French. I feel like I could I could just go up to someone in Germany and have a basic conversation. Meanwhile, in French, and this is a story I've told before, I know we're segueing slightly off of Eagles topics. We'll come back onto them in a bit and we'll talk about the quarterback matchups. Imagine this, 18-year-old Liam, long, floppy emo hair, no dress sense in the world, all right? And there are foreign exchange students that are at my college. So a group of French students have come over, and one of them was gorgeous to 18-year-old Liam, and he fancied a bit of that. And he'd studied French in his exams at school when he was 15, 16. He was, I've got this in the bag. Let's rizz it up a bit, shall we? So I walk over and I go, bonjour. And she goes, oh, salut. And I was, oh, we're in here. We are in. And I look at her, and I in my head, I'm just thinking, sound as French as you possibly can. And with full chest, full conviction, I say, je m'appelle le Gendon. I'm thinking, that is fucking tremendous. That is it. And they all start laughing. And I'm confused. And I forget, I think I said I'm called something. I didn't know what I'd said. And I went back, and my friend who I was with was also like in hysterics. And I asked what I'd said. Turns out I'd said, I'm called the Garden. So that's why German is my other favorite language, because I can at least say, you know, ich heiße Liam. Ich wohne in England. You know, I can get away with it. I can do a bit more. Anyway, language barriers aside, let's talk some ball, because we've got a spicy matchup against the Green Bay Packers on the horizon. Jalen Hurts, Jordan Love is the quarterback duel, obviously, that will be on our screens. Hurts has the better supporting cast. He's got the better receivers, but I don't think People are taking the Packers seriously. Genuinely, what worries me a bit with this matchup outside of the potential teething problems is the fact that Green Bay went on such a tear last year. Now, that can go one of two ways. They can end up being overhyped, which I think nationally they might have done, but it can also just kind of be forgotten a little bit, which I think in this market, that's done. So you look at the receivers they have. If we just get their depth chart up for a minute, I'm not sure if it's going to let me share it on screen again because my computer is, my worst enemy these days. I'll let you know when Bing loads. I need to stop using Bing, but I've got a toolbar and everything now, so I kind of have to. Taking the piss. Nice to see you, K1. I hope you're doing well, sir. Is this loading? I know my signal has gone all sorts of out the window right now, so I apologize for the lack of stability there. It's trying to load the web page. I really got to sort my internet out. We'll get there. Really wanted to go to Brazil for this game. Couldn't convince my wife to spend the money. Oh, dude, I can imagine. Especially if you're from Germany, it's some trip. It's gonna be what, like 10 hours? Like that's a long trip. So yeah, it makes sense. Would have been one amazing holiday though. Would have been a great vacation to watch. Not that I'm watching your vacation. I meant to enjoy. Right, web page is loaded. Can I share it without my internet bugging out? If you can read it, there we go. Right. So if you look at the depth chart. The big thing that stands out was that Marshawn Lloyd, he's questioned. Same with Emmanuel Wilson. They're both questionable, but I'm pretty sure Lloyd didn't practice on Tuesday. So I haven't seen the updated injury report. I'm assuming this is up to date. Assuming does make an ass out of you and me, but I'm assuming it's up to date. If both running backs are down, it is going to put a lot on the plate of Josh Jacobs, which isn't the end of the world. But when he needs a rest and a breather, if you haven't got anyone to lean on, it's not great, especially with AJ Dillon, over there somewhere. But the wide receivers are what stands out. Christian Watson, great, probably the best thing to come out of North Dakota State. Sorry, Carson. Romeo Doubs, I think he's been waiting for that breakout, that big year. Like, it's getting there, it's coming. Jaden Reed, nothing bad to say about him. I think he's a very solid WR3. Luke Musgrave at tight end, solid. The offensive line is serviceable. I think Elton Jenkins is a baller just because he shares my surname. And defense is where I think they start to get a bit creative. Well, you've got Kenny Clark, you've got Rashawn Gary, I mentioned Key Walker earlier, Eric Wilson at middle linebacker now, Edgerrin Cooper back there as well. Cornerbacks, we haven't even mentioned Jair Alexander, Xavier McKinney at safety. It is a big test. Like, this is an extremely big test for the Eagles here. Andre Dillard, I didn't even mention that. Good grief. Liam stream buffering. Is this an omen for the Eagles Brazil stream on Friday? I really hope not. But I also won't be multi-streaming the screen, so I might get away with it. But yeah, when looking at this defense, you can see where the matchups are going to be. Obviously, it's the base 4-3 defense, as ESPN says. So, I mean, in terms of running, you might get a bit more leverage, but you're going to have to do well to try and get your way past. I mean, Key Walker's been so good, especially against the run from memory. Eric Wilson has been around the league long enough, solid name. Rashawn Gary's a menace, absolute menace. As I said, I think he had 9 sacks last year. Kenny Clark, solid. I'm not much ball knowledge to say on TJ Slayton. Preston Smith is obviously, a man of prestige. It's a tough defense. And I think the big matchup there, honestly, is going to be Alexander. I don't know if he's going to potentially shadow AJ Brown or if he's going to stay on Smitty, but they've got to really try and work out where his vulnerabilities are, which isn't exactly easy to do when you think of the caliber of corner that Alexander is. Like, he's one of the best in the league for a reason. So the good news is, from a Philadelphia standpoint, that even if Alexander plays his heart out, and let's say he does shadow AJ Brown, that Smitty will be open. They've also now got themselves a very shiny, very new slot receiver from Washington who can do some damage. For now, he should remain nameless. We will go into him later about that matchup specifically. But they've got options. If the wide receivers aren't being respected too much by that secondary and everything's a bit too tight over the top, you've got Saquon Barkley there. You've got Dallas Goedert. You can move receivers around on screens. You can maybe even try something with a Britton Covey, maybe even with a Johnny Wilson. Like, you've got options there. But at safety, like, That secondary is a top secondary. Like, don't make any mistake about it. That's a tough secondary to come up against. So, in terms of like scoring, if I'm a betting man and I'm betting this game, okay, which I'm definitely not, and I'm definitely not, right? Think about it. Neutral site. Players don't seem up for it. Two very good defenses. An Eagles offense with a new coordinator that might end up stumbling a little bit out of the blocks. The point total for this is 49. I can see Matt saying the over just as I'm pitching the under. What are you, Matthew Watson? And I call you by your full name because I will not take that slander on this stream, sir. What are you cooking over there? Is that a contrarian over? Like what's the thesis? What are you cooking over there? Because I want to know now. I am very, very intrigued because I am not seeing over in this game. But I've been wrong before. Shout out to Leon Torres. I can't see his. Oh, there we go. I've been looking for you for a while. I remember you took a mental health break. I hope everything's well. Oh, that's very sweet of you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm all good. I really appreciate that. Essentially, I stream 3 times a week now, just because it's in like 1 hour segment. It's a lot easier to fit into my day than trying to edit a 4-hour video on top of working and running a website and all the rest of it. So I can now do what I do with PSN and stream for 1 hour talking about the birds 3 times a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 p.m. is where you can catch me. But yeah, I am doing better. Like still kicking, still going. PSN still going strong. 9th year covering the Eagles now. I think it's my 5th full time. So yeah, I'm all good. And facial hair. That wasn't there when you were last year. I can bet you that, Leon. Hey, look at that. Look at that beard. You only make an ass out of yourself when you assume. Well, you've been over this. Packers are an interesting team, says Birdbrain. Thanks for dropping in, man. Where they don't have a lot of star power, but it's solid talent to do their jobs well. Hard to know who to single out. Yeah, completely agree. There is no star on that team, like you said. But when you look at it, we'll get the depth chart back up again. How many of these players would you take building an NFL roster as starters? Pretty much the entire starting off, the defense. Offense, I mean, the line, it can be questionable, but Jenkins has been around the league a while. Josh Myers is solid. Zach Tom is obviously a fairly solid name. That's going to be an intriguing matchup for the defensive ends, all tackles, I suppose, to try and take advantage of. And at receivers, that they're all unproven to a relative degree, but they are all solid in their own right, or they've proven that they've got it in the tank. And you've got a quarterback in Jordan Love who took a real step forward last year. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And if you're looking at like, I think the only benefit I would say is when looking at this part, right? The receivers and the tight ends. Darius Slay, Isaiah Rodgers, Quinyon Mitchell, they shouldn't have too much issue. That's going to be level playing field, if not slightly in favor of Philadelphia. And all they need to do is buy time. If they can be stout against the run and buy time for that pass rush, they're going to cause problems. Like the biggest thing, if you go on Jordan Love, I don't know, A, how quickly this is going to load, B, what stats I can actually see on ESPN, because they really don't show much for, being the premier sport broadcasting people. Stats. So if we look at his 2023, I want to get his PFR up because you'll get far more info from it, because there is something I want to explore here. Please load. Here we go. Oh, it's gone. I've deleted it. Give me a sec. Hang on. While this is loading, I will quickly get to some of your comments. No one really plays base defense anymore. It's usually nickels and dime. Very fair point. My bad. But yeah, that's also a good point there from Win if it works. It's getting there. I wouldn't survive Brazilian women. Meanwhile, while I've been talking football, this has happened in the stream. I didn't check the comments. That's my bad. I was kicking around with K1 this morning. Is that Devin White has an undisclosed criminal record that won't... Oh! That is interesting. I hadn't thought of it. You'd need to do some digging. But there would have to be a record of it somewhere. So surely, I don't know where it would be. I'm guessing Tampa. Where was he? Was he LSU, Devin White? it's a really, I say good theory. It's not a good theory to have, but it's a well thought out theory. I think it's what I'm trying to say. Would make sense how he randomly just, fell on his ankle on a Wednesday morning. Very intriguing. Boss man played the field. The NFL isn't sending the two best teams in the NFC across the world to not score points. Matt Watson. Look at him cooking over there with lines like that. Look at him just dropping a microphone on the chat. Unbelievable. I mean, I get it, but they're also sending teams out there who don't really want to play there. And the Eagles have got new coordinator. I don't know. I can't see this being an offensive showdown. Like, I think very rarely are international games. I think the only two teams that seem to do well internationally are the Jags, because they do it all the time. And the Saints, I think, seem to do pretty well. I guess you have to look at international history and see what neutral site scores have been and if there's a history and stuff. But you can say that, when the Eagles the NFL sent the Eagles out to London, and the team they had then, and the fact it was an up-and-coming team, and they'd just come off, obviously, the Super Bowl. Same thing, wasn't a barn burner. There's been a few really poor games at Wembley. There's been a few bangers as well. So I don't know. I don't know. Duck, I dream about who would welcome me at Pearly Gates. Brazilian women would be. Can someone check on Marshawn Lynch? I think he's having a bit of a wobble over there. He might have a bottle of Henny in hand. He might be listening to Future, and he might be posting stories on Instagram saying he needs to just lock in. I'm not sure if all is well. We're here. Tinder is a great thing. Yeah, Tinder is a great thing. Is all I'm saying. I'm not responsible for Liam's assumptions nor his training emo beard. Look, this is good. We're getting there. Don't get me wrong. We are getting there. LJ makes an ass out of himself on us on the regular. Man like Boss Man was like moving with the goddamn options to for crying out. How far behind am I in this chat? I'm only 3 minutes away. Did you go to Germany with the Bucks in 2022? That's a good shout. I need to look at. Can we find that? Can someone find that out? If Devin White was on that Bucks game in Berlin in 2022, because my PC will not let me do it. Matt's looking professional. And look, I would expect nothing less from Matt. He is one of PSN's finest. That's what he does. He looks dapper and he yaps. The dapper yapper. That's what he does. Man like Boss Man had enough things on the go. You get me? Random question, totally separate from the grain, as we move on from Marshawn Lynch's Brazilian women-related indulgences. Do I prefer Wembley Stadium or Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? Personally, Wembley, because it's like the most special stadium in England. And you look at the moments there, everyone associates it with Queen. Not the Queen, but like the band. Like incredible sporting moments, musical moments. Being a Charlton Athletic fan, playoff win a few years back, 94th minute winner to send us up to the championship. We had another playoff win, final win there in 1999. You've got FA Cup heritage there. Like it's a special stadium. It's just aura. It's just aura in a stadium. The Spurs Stadium is a fantastic example of like a modern stadium. Like it's beautiful to look at, but I think it lacks character. It lacks substance, and that's where, like, for me, being a little fan of a little team like Charlton, the stadium can only see like 18,000 people, I think. But it's been there for like 100 years, and the stadium just feels like important, and you feel part of something. And it's obviously, I went to the West Ham Stadium for the Phillies series. Again, beautiful stadium, but it's just, it doesn't have that. I can't put my finger on it, but it just doesn't have that feeling of like, wow, this is where he stood when he did that thing. Like I went to Wembley to watch AC/DC a couple months back as well with my younger brother. And I stood there watching the real Brian Johnson, not the Eagles one, feeling like I was in something special. Like you were standing there thinking, nah, that's where this Charlton player, that's where Patrick Bauer scored that header, you know? And I just don't think you get that. Maybe in like 20, 30 years, that will change for Spurs. But given their run of, no trophies, I doubt it. But, it's personal preference. If you want a stadium as a spectacle, probably the Spurs Stadium. If you want a stadium that feels special to you, then I would say Wembley. Who do we feel has the biggest chance to disappoint this season? That's a very good question, Jay Fizz. I would say, it's really hard. I don't want to say Saquon. No, do you know? I'll tell you what. I'm going to go Bryce Huff. Because I don't think Saquon can disappoint. It's Saquon. Bryce Huff, purely from the basis that when he came to the Jets, as my internet conks out, again, he's come off like a 10-sack season or whatever it was from a rotational role. All he did was beat up on worn-down offensive linemen. He's now coming into a system where he could be a starter week one. We haven't seen him as a starter yet. We haven't seen him handle a starter's workload. And there is a chance that he's not quite ready for it or that he's not as efficient. If he is a starter through 4 weeks and he has 1 sack, questions will be asked. If he is a rotational role through 4 weeks and he has 1 sack, I don't think anyone will care. There is more downside risk because of public perception that you are paying him an astronomical amount of money for a role he hasn't yet performed in. You're paying for potential. You're not paying for what you've got currently, which is fine. But there's no guarantee you get that potential this year. It could be next year. It could be the year after. It will come. I have no doubt it will come. But it could be a couple years. And I don't think the majority of the fan base is ready to have that conversation yet. I think the more diligent fans, the fans that are obsessed with the team and know the ins and outs, like, you know, you 23 of you here and the 110 watching of you on Twitter, like you guys, all perfect. But I think the more casual fans and the ones that just, you know, maybe listen to a lot of sports talk radio and don't, you know, it's going to take one Bryce Huff mention on the Fanatic and the world's going to burn down. So I think that is something to watch. Coach-wise, Nick Sirianni obviously is the one to circle in red there. Given what happened last year, if there is any remote, even 1 loss, I think people are going to get a bit iffy. You know, 2 losses, people are going to get their backs up. But if you get to 3 or 4 losses, I think it might be a hellstorm. Like, this team has to be perfect in every aspect of the game because Nick Sirianni's future now depends on it. Liam, just going to send you a link in regards to that Devin White theory. Have you sent it? Right. Oh, so it is actually a theory. Give me 2 seconds. Hang on. Cool. Right. So there is a theory. So this is what's sent from Thomas. Apologies for the gap. So yeah, so there's an article from 2015 that says Devin White had a run-in with the police. This was back in high school, I think. So it could be. Yeah. It's very interesting. It's not something I would report on, but I can definitely see how that would come across, you know, people's minds when seeing a random injury pop up out of the blue for no apparent reason when he was fine the day before. Matt, nice to see you, man. I never thought that facial hair was possible. It's about as good as it gets. I'll level with you. I mean, this is November now. We're starting early. I'm hoping I might have even 1 more hair like here by October. Might make an extra £8. But I know, I'm amazed myself. I'm going to come onto a stream in 2 weeks and be like, hey guys, welcome to Philly Sports Net, and that's going to be it. So, you know, I hope all is well though, man. Hope you're all good. Where are we? I've probably rambled on for a bit there. Josh Sweat, winners said, is a player that could disappoint. Money that could have gone to Reddick as well. That's also something worth bearing in mind. Obviously, Reddick still currently not set to play for a team in 2024. So, swings and roundabouts, that one. But you're definitely right. Like, if Huff doesn't get off to the start, it could work against the Eagles, the fact that Reddick isn't playing. Because it's one of them where you know that he's not on a team, he's held out for a bigger deal, he would have cost cheaper because he can't get that money anyway, so they could have paid him what they paid Bryce Huff to begin with, and then they get Bryce Huff, and if he doesn't have that start, the comparisons will be there. So, yeah, that would be my pick. But I will get back onto this Jordan Love thing. I have segued from it so far. It's unbelievable. But I want to get to his Matt Watson level stats here. I want to get into these advanced passing. That's advanced rushing, which we don't need. Adjusted passing? No. Advanced passing. All right. So we've got into... What am I looking for here? Pressure. That's the one. Right. What's that? Sack. Oh, they're passing yards. Okay, right. So he was sacked 30 times in 2023. Average of 2.5 2.5 seconds in the pocket. If I can find the Jalen Hurts one by comparison, I'm just trying to see something because I want to see those numbers under pressure. Times QB was pressure 119, 20% of his dropbacks. Yeah, it's not really accuracy. 29 drops, 18 throwaways. Like, I'm just trying to see. PFR, as good as it is, doesn't give you all of the depth that you need. And it can be like, I think it's much better for baseball from what I've seen, but it does the job. Anyway, right, I'm trying to look at the Jalen Hurts ones now. I'll get them on the screen. Where are we to? Good if I had this prepared, wouldn't it? Adjusted pass, advanced passing, pressure. Right. So it's about around one of the big criticism last year was that Hurts was in the pocket a little bit too long. I think you can see that there with Jordan Love as well. Kind of, I think there will be opportunities there. Like it might be a bit different now. Who's that? Look, who's that? Who's that there? Who is it? Oh, see you later. I think there'll be opportunities to get pressure on Jordan Love. Purely because I don't think the receivers against this secondary will be quick enough to generate enough separation to open those throwing lanes. I think that there's going to be ample opportunities just to knock them off their route, buy some time, and let someone like Jalen Carter, like Bryce Huff, like Josh Sweat, Jalix Hunt, Milton Williams, whoever, just do their bidding. Like, just get the job done. I think the big thing is going to be getting him in. Last season would have had all... Do you know what? It would have been today, and I've had like the most chaotic afternoon ever. So what's it, sunshine? Next week, there'll be one for the Friday for the Monday night game or the Monday night stream, whatever. Yeah, I did try. I started making them, and then I had like a billion things to do, as you do when you get to this time of the year. Or a young Alex Ovechkin before he lost his teeth, Martian. Liam looks... A young Alex Ovechkin. Well, look, it's better than Matey Boy from the Whale. I would take that. He allegedly was in the locker room, was a locker room cancer last season, so Reddit was pushed along for the best trade offer available just for sacks. You keep him here. Yeah. I don't know. I think Bryce Huff, for me, like you said, the concern is stamina. But if you're talking about getting pressure on Jordan Love, if you're talking about forcing bad throws, Josh Jacobs being there is one thing. But you've still got to rely on people like Christian Watson to get open against Darius Slay, to find a pocket between Slay and Blankenship. Zach Bourne is a relentless linebacker. Like, we watched that Saints tape on this stream when they signed him. His ability to go sideline, to play within himself, to not give up awful missed tackles, to take proper ones and just read the game well and play with instinct is outstanding. And I think that that's going to be vital here when you're looking at a lot of these screens, a lot of these crossing routes and in-breakers are designed to get them away from corners early. He's going to be a vital piece, especially with Devin White out. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him. Like I know we spoke about Nakobe Dean, but Bourne's going to be the other one feeling that pressure. So I'm hoping he's going to be up to the task of stopping them. In terms of a score prediction, I'm going to say... Do you know what? Now I'm thinking about the score. I think Matt might be right. Because I was going to say 28-21, and that would have been bang on 49, which meant my bet wouldn't cash. So I'm going to say 27-21. Under 49. 27-21 Eagles is going to be my play, I think, for that. Yeah, I think, again, this team's too good across the roster. Green Bay is up and coming. They could play spoiler. I just can't see it happening. I really can't see it happening. Actually, no, worry, wrong again. Fantasy Pros is a site for the advanced stats. Yeah, I need to get a proper good one in that. Now we're getting towards the season. 28-21 Eagles, trying to one-up me from Duck. We've got a lot of 27-pointers and 28-pointers from the Eagles here. I'll tell you what, Brian, host of Flipping the Birds, put together a spicy parlay earlier today. He doesn't mind me reading it out on the stream. But it is +7 something or other. Plus 7,200. About 72-1 for those not in America and that can understand odds properly. Sorry. These are the selections. The next selection, same game parlay. Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. Devontae Smith anytime touchdown. Josh Jacobs anytime touchdown. All solid. I think that the Hurts one is the wild card. Depends if they run the tush push or not under Kellen Moore as successfully as they did with Jason Kelce there. Like, the line has changed. You've got a new right guard. You've got a new center. Hard to say. Hard to say. I mean, you'd like to assume a Jalen Hurts rushing touchdown would be a given after how much he put on the board last year, but you never know. So Hurts, Smitty, and Jacobs all to score. Hurts over 200 passing yards. That should be a given. Smitty over 60 receiving yards might be the breaker because of how the ball gets distributed, but it should be all right. Saquon over 60 rushing yards. Yeah. Jacobs over 50 rushing yards. Yeah. And a Saquon anytime touchdown. That at 72-1, I think is pretty good. So, if you want to get on the Brian, we need to find a hashtag bets with Brian, then, you can add that to your parlay slip at 72-1. But I need to get like a promo link for DraftKings or something back in the description so you can actually make the bets. That'd be a good start. Confirm that the score will be 24-20 Packers, I'm afraid, since I'm never wrong. Well, I hope you are. I hope that trend bucks in this game. But yeah, it's hard to read. For me, the things to watch is that the Eagles start fast. They have to score, and they have to score early. This is a Packers defense that, again, doesn't yield much because of the talent back there. What I will say is that the Packers defense last year, I think I'm right. It might be like 1 or 2 out, but they averaged like the 3rd fewest interceptions per game of any NFL team. And you can look at last year and say, well, the Eagles didn't turn the ball over, or they did turn the ball over too much. But contextually, in the confines of that offense, with Hurts having to force the ball, I can't see them creating a ton of turnovers this year. Hurts is very smart with the ball in his hand. He doesn't make a ton of errors. He's very methodical. I think the chances of Green Bay getting a big-time turnover are quite slim, especially if they're already not generating them. And I don't think they've added anyone to tilt that scale. Alexander isn't a dinner cornerback. He's very much a breakfast, win at the line, smother him for lunch, and he can have his dinner sort of cornerback. So I think that realistically, if it comes down to a turnover battle and who wins that, it's the Eagles. If it comes down to star power, it's the Eagles. If it comes down to the better offense, it's the Eagles. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, the only way the Eagles lose this game is if they throw it away, is if they stumble, if they have false starts, if they have pass interference, if they have encroachment, stuff like that is expected when you have a pair of new coordinators getting a new system implemented. If they can avoid all of it, they'll be fine. If they can't, I think Green Bay are just pesky enough to hang around and cause some problems. So that's kind of my takeaway on it, is that the Eagles are the better team. I don't think this needs deep dive analytics for week 1. But I do think that Philadelphia is the better team. And if they lose, it's their own fault. I think we can say that much. The Packers don't have Joe Barry calling their defense anymore. That's already a big plus. Yeah, that is true. I mean, while player-wise, they didn't, make any changes. I suppose that in itself, having a bit of a switch up on the defensive coaching side of it might help. But you're still going to make the plays, like, it's one of them. The Eagles created plenty of turnovers in every defense they've had, really. I mean, I know there was a brief stint where they didn't get many, but for the most part, if you look at the last 4 of the last 5 years, they've got big turnovers in big games, and the Packers just don't do that as much. So we shall see. I'm a big fan of the Eagles, says Little G. He's going to be an uncle, and it's a girl. He is buzzing. The Eagles are now, just as we say, a couple of days away. If you are new to the stream, obviously I know we've got 25 of you-ish watching now. We've got over 100 of you watching on Twitter. If you're enjoying the show, if you can leave a like and subscribe, that'll be absolutely sensational. We will be live on Friday at around 7:30 p.m. to do the watch along for the game. So we'll be watching the game with you. You can tune in here, catch all the action. My reactions, as long as I have to sort who's covering what. I'm not sure if anyone's on the stream with me or if I'm suffering by myself in what could be a messy night. It starts at 1 a.m. my time. And it's typical. My body clock's been broken all summer, like horrifically broken. I'm talking 6, 7 in the morning bedtimes. And as soon as the NFL comes back, my head's just gone, I'm going to go to bed at 11 p.m. tonight. Yeah, I'm going to have an early night. And I can't break out of it. So this could be a caffeine-indulged nightmare. I think the angle not many are looking at in this game, says Birdbrain, is the Eagles coming in with 2 new coordinators and the Packers 1. Eagles will be more unknown and harder to scout for. Yeah, it could. That's a good point. It could work in their favor. But I will say that Vic Fangio's defenses do tend to all look pretty similar. Like, you know what you're getting with a Vic Fangio defense for the most part. And while the players change, the principles are the same. It also doesn't help that they've had 2 defensive coordinators in the last 2 years that have come from his coaching tree and tried to do their own iteration of Vic Fangio's defense. So you've just had Vic Fangio light for 2 years in a row. So you're going to get a base principle, I think. And for Kellen Moore, I guess, is the same, where it's not like he was under the radar with the Raiders. He was at Dallas, which is a very high-profile team, did very well there. Obviously, you look at what he's done, even as a backup quarterback. Like, I think he's been around the NFL long enough for people to have sussed him out to a degree. But having said that, I don't think the Eagles' offense can get much worse than it was last year. You know, it can't. And I keep forgetting that. Like, there's a part of me that's so excited for this season that I've almost completely blanked out this period of the horrible AJ Brown route trees that we broke down, and the fact that it was either screen passes or 50-yard bombs and nothing in between. And then there was rushing the ball nonstop, and then there was no running, and then there's slants, and then there's nothing else. And you've got AJ Brown on screens and Devontae Smith blocking, when AJ Brown's built like Optimus Prime and Devontae Smith built like me. There was just a lot that none of it made sense. There was no motion and all the rest of it. And now you finally got a coordinator that can implement all of that. I'd like to think get it done. So we'll see. But again, we'll be here Friday night to watch all the fun. So if you're here for that, let me know in the comments. I might even bring the Sam Bradford jersey out of retirement, because I think that could be a little bit of fun. And we need the good luck charm. And he is worth good luck. Just because the Packers broke up with their old DC doesn't mean their new DC will make them happy. Real. Sometimes you have to go back to your old DC because you realise he was actually not that bad. You know, and the new DC is a bit... He's calling all the wrong plays. He keeps calling a blitz. I don't want a blitz. I want a nice cover 2. A nice Tampa 2. Relaxed. Everyone's in their zones. They know what they're doing. Just breathe. I don't want engage 8 blitz all the time. Back to the old DC. Yeah? Think about it. No one likes us, says Jack Straw. Love that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really hoping, aside, I know we spoke about Brazil in the game and the logistics and stuff, but I'm really hoping it's like an Eagles crowd, like a partisan Eagles crowd. I would love nothing more than just a proper... I know you can't really have a sea of green given the situation, but just a raucous, home-feeling crowd. Because the Eagles tend to travel well anyway. And the Eagles do have a strong following in Brazil. Like, it would make me so happy just to have this turn into a hug. Because imagine if you're a player anyway, and I'm not defending their views on this game, because I think it is stupid. But if you are hesitant about going to a venue and you're not feeling great and you don't really, you're like, oh, I've got to go and play football now, whatever, you know. Imagine hearing just a roaring crowd in the last place you expected to hear one to rally you through. That's a game. It can be a difference. That can be the difference. Take it easy, Jack. I'll see you Friday, my friend. And Jordan, thank you for checking in with your cheeky little Cowboys logo. See you soon. Thanks for hopping by, man. I appreciate your support. We have spoke about Devin White with the ankle injury or the ankle injury. And like I said, my friend Timur, who's in this stream, sent me a link during the stream that essentially cites an article from 2015 where he had a run-in with the police at high school. So he would have been 17 years old at the time, and he had a run-in with the police for careless operation of a motor vehicle and misdemeanor fight from an officer. He was not arrested. So I don't know. It's hard to say if Isaac's not got the context of the full bit of the stream, he's going to be like, what is he yapping about? But Duck presented a theory that maybe Devin White has an undisclosed criminal record, and that's why he can't travel internationally. I don't know. I don't think that's my place to speculate or hypothesize on. Like, the facts are the facts, and if he's got one, he's got one. If he hasn't, he hasn't. I think the bottom line is he's not playing. Whether he's rolled his ankle, walked into a shelf, stubbed his toe, I don't know. Yeah, Isaac has completely missed all of that. Bless him. So he's came in all innocently asking about Devin White's ankle. and then it's been dropped into a conspiracy theory about a criminal record. So I apologize for that. But yeah, on another note, that what was there in Germany. Yeah, I don't buy much into the. I don't know. It's hard to say, but it is very weird that he was final preseason, final training camp, and then randomly Tuesday injury report's fine, and then the Wednesday injury report ankle goes. Don't know. Hard to say, but I hope he's okay, whatever it is. Devin White's an international criminal. I really hope not. I really hope not. But yeah, the main thing is that the Eagles linebackers are all right. And we end up with Nakobe Dean having a breakout game. And everyone's like, oh my God, it's Nakobe season. He's going to break out. This is his year. And he becomes a starting linebacker. And we never look back. And they win a Super Bowl. Devin White wins Defensive Player of the Year. Comeback Player of the Year, probably. And it's all great. That's a parallel universe we can live in, right? I won't be mad about that. In terms of... I'll go for an MVP to end the stream. An MVP for the opening week. Part of me wants to say Saquon. I'm really rooting for Saquon Barkley, which I feel like is quite obvious, but I really feel like it could be a special rushing year for him. However, Zach Bourne. All right, look, I've been championing him since the minute he signed with Philadelphia. We watched that Saints tape as a group on this very stream, and I said to you, baller. He's going to be an impact player. He can win a starting role in this defense, and he's done it. And now, with Nakobe Dean having to be bumped up to a starter because there's no Devin White, Zach Bourne's going to have more to worry about because he's got to steal the show. He's got to steal the show. And I'm all in on it. Zach Bourne MVP. He's going to get an interception, a forced fumble, a sack, 2 pass defenses, 3 QB knocks, all the rest of it. Get them all in. Get them all in. He's going to fly the lot. My score prediction, just so the under bet of 49 points cashes, Isaac. But yeah, we'll start the stream on Friday. I know my internet's being horrific again. We'll start Friday's stream at about 7:30, and we'll do the thing we do where we get score predictions in. If you get it right, you're into a draw to win a jersey. How about that, my boys? How about that? Yeah? You want a free jersey? You want a free jersey, do you? Predict the score on Friday, and I'll see what I can do. All right? But until then, really quickly. Jarrell's comment. I have Dotson being 2017's Nelson Aguilar. Had 2 years after being a first-round pick, gets to be the third up. Do you know what? That is such a good comparison. Such a good comparison. I mean, Aguilar was serviceable, man. Like, he gets a bad rap because he never became what the Eagles wanted him to be. I think the difference between them was that Aguilar was drafted as a slot receiver and got moved outside year 1 and year 2 where he struggled. And then when they moved him back inside, he was great. I'm pretty sure Dotson's been in the slot since day 1. But in terms of the contextual, linear comparison between the two, yeah, that definitely makes sense. And it's very much that redemption arc for him. Washington have now got no one but Terry McLaurin, which is annoying because I kind of had them to be this NFC East underdog to sneak into the playoffs this year and get 1-2 behind the Eagles. It is a bet that I've championed all off season as well. But yeah, I think that trajectory is an interesting one. And do you know what would be even more magical, Jarrell, right? First play of the game, Hurts launches it deep to Dotson. He gets past the defender. He scores a touchdown and he throws his arms out like Jackson, like Aguilar before him, and falls backwards into the end zone. Could you imagine a more poetic start to the 2024 NFL season? Need to get Zach Bourne on the stream. God, imagine. Get him on. I'll get him on. I know I'm tapping my head. I was going to make a comment about him not having any hair, but I figured it was a bit mean, and I love him, so I didn't want to do that. Also the slot receiver, people wanted to move outside. Justin. Yeah. yeah. And I look, I never said a bad word about Justin Jefferson ever. I did not want Rager over Jefferson. That's what I'm saying. I never did that. I might have done that quite a lot. Regret it now. And on that note, I'll have a look who Zach's agent is. I need to talk to the Eagles people anyway about stuff this year, so I need to get knocking on some doors. I might surprise you. Can you imagine end of the year? Zach Bourne. Zach comes on for Christmas. What a Christmas present! Zach, it's me. Look, it's me, Zach. I've been talking about you on the. See you later. Be great fun, guys. On that note, I will see you on Friday. Eagles, Packers, football is here. The watch along 7:15 to 7:30ish will be starting, kicking off with proceedings. I might even have a few graphics for K1 to sink his teeth into. We'll have a giveaway. We're going to have some fun, and we're going to watch the Eagles beat Green Bay. Football is back. The boys are back. Thank you for hanging out this evening. If you haven't subscribed already, it would be amazing if you could. And as you leave in the theatre, just leave a like on the way out. Yeah, just put your popcorn in the bin, leave a like on the way out and go, that was a bloody good film. I'm going to come back on Friday and watch the sequel. I'll see you on Friday for the sequel. Go Birds. Enjoy your evening. I'll see you Friday.